So I don't have any way of proving this, but I think maybe Lang may have just done us a solid. I don't know for certain. I'm just kind of making assumptions here, but I think he might have actually be helping us right now. I guess we'll see. Okay, now, let's first go over the facts one more time. Manny Cochin's body was found over in the Secretariat's office in Babel. The weapon that took his life was one of Alabast's ornamental knives. And then, the body of Damas II, Mr. Kashino, was found here in the Alabastian ambassador's office. Through our investigation, we found that the murder weapon was the Prima Duck statue, and that this is actually Babel's statue. This case, no matter how I look at it, sis, if it wasn't you, then there's no one else who could have pulled this off. Agent Lang, do you understand how the full implications of what you are saying? Of course I do, sis, and I'm serious. You were on the trail of the smuggling ring, and you wanted any evidence you could find. And so, while people were distracted by the Yatagata-su's appearance, you snuck in here. That's when you two ran into each other, and you and that other thief who took advantage of the confusion from the fire. Even if all that were true, how do you explain the movement of the weapons? Don't worry, I plan to show that you're the culprit behind that too. You had permission to investigate both embassies at will. With that kind of free reign, you could have easily taken the weapons across country lines. Hey now! Look, sis, I thought I already told you, I'm not messing around here. This case isn't directly tied to the smuggling ring, but Shana certainly is tied to the smuggling ring. He is right in saying that she is a member of the smuggling ring. However, the connection between this case and the ring could not be deeper than what any of us can imagine. Let's get this ridiculous circus over with already. Francisca, you need to calm down, because you only know the facts of the Alabastian side of the case. I don't believe you can see the case as a whole and therefore solve it. What? But don't worry, I'm taking this seriously as well, and I will prove your innocence. That's the only way to be, Mr. Prosecutor. But can you come up with anything else that can top my hypothesis? I mean, give me a minute and a half and I'm willing to bet I probably can. Of course, your explanation has to solve the mystery of the moving weapons as well. Of course, I mildly hesitate, and I will. Let us now delve into the truth behind the murder of Damask II. You do understand, don't you, Mr. Edgeworth, or Miles Edgeworth? This isn't just a confrontation against Agent Lang. If you can't figure out how the murder of Damask II is related to the smuggling ring, then it will mean the end of our investigation. And that's part of what's making me think that this is Lang trying to help? Because if he didn't do what he did, then the entire case would be over already and we would have been kicked out. I feel like he just said something that he needed to say in order to keep it going? Unless the game wants to prove me wrong and he really is just a total asshole, that's a possibility. I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt here. As long as I have no good counter-argument to his hypothesis, then the best I can do is walk this thin tightrope and see what I can do. Come on, Mr. Prosecutor, let's get started. Yes, let's. I'm ready to go! Alright. One of Alabast's knives was used in Babel to murder Mr. Cochin. And the murder weapon in the killing of Damas II is Babel's Prima Duck statue. Somehow, these two objects were able to penetrate the two countries' impenetrable security. The only one who traversed the two countries just before and after the crimes was you. So as long as I can't explain how the weapons moved about, Francisca will remain a suspect? You got it, Mr. Prosecutor. So why don't you stop giving me a hard time? Under these circumstances, who the heck can carry a weapon across country lines? I've worked through every possibility, but there's only one thing's possible. Your boss. Agent Lang, what I've learned from you just now is that you've lost sight of yourself. What are you talking about? By focusing too intently on that which is in front of you, we become blind to the truth. Don't tell me Lang Z never said anything to that effect. Prosecutor, who do you think you are speaking about Lang Z's proverbs like that? Only I may point out the fact that they're kind of pointless and dumb. I don't need his proverbs. They're very stupid. Because my words are all you'll need to see the truth. That's not a bad boast. Okay. So... I think I know what I need to do. Alright, and the murder weapon, and there's Babel's prima duck statue. Somehow these two objects... Okay, but hang on, no. I mean, it's still... It doesn't really help the situation, but it's still... a contradiction. And those are always what the game tries to get you to do, even if they're not immediately useful. Objection! Yes! Smug. Agent Lang, those two items are not the only two to cross the border tonight. There was a third! Damas 2 was killed with Babel's prima duck statue. Yes, Babel. But if that's the case, then tell me, where did Alabast's prima duck statue go? To Babel. Precisely. And if the two statues really were switched, then this means that both statues were smuggled across the border at some point. Which means that a total of 3 items were smuggled across the embassies. Huh. I guess so, but you know what? It doesn't matter the number of items. Only that Sis is the only one who could have done it. Because the only person who went back and forth between Alabast and Babel is her. Is that really true? Was there no one else who traveled between the two countries? Additionally, there was definitely another person. One who paid a visit to both sides of the wall. Objection! Always gotta be dishing that out. Is that really so, Agent Lang? What a lousy time to try and bluff your way out of this. I checked out what the guards said, along with the security camera's footage. You're not gonna overturn my hypothesis that easily. But suppose there was some other way other than through the theater doors. What other way? The other entity that managed to cross the border unharmed. If I pointed out, it would open up a whole new possibility. And though I hesitate to bring this out, as long as this entity exists, the impossible road becomes a possibility. Looks like you got some clever idea in mind. I do, and I can show it to you through a single piece of evidence. Fine then. Let's see this piece of evidence that'll show me this other route. This piece of evidence will show us another way to move between the two countries. Well, I've got my theories about this. So, that's gonna be my go of it. Agent Lang, I'm sure you're familiar with this unforgettable photo. That supernatural photo? Like I said before, humans can't fly. No, of course not. I understand that perfectly well. Why would you think that's what I'm trying to say? God, you're dumb. And don't start claiming that Shana somehow grew wings either. Why are you so obsessed with that? Wouldn't dream of claiming that. That would be stupid. And I won't allow you to take back what you said either. I'll say it again. It's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings. So you'd better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor. Yeah. How can I prove who it was that flew through the air in this photo? Wait, not humanly possible. Eureka! All I gotta do is look back on the days of the case of Maximilian Galactica. Very well, you will have your explanation. Just because people didn't like that case doesn't mean it doesn't help things out now. Even though I don't know, Edgeworth had nothing to do with that one, but it still works out for me. Sounds like you had a good idea shimmer inside that head of yours. Let's hear it. The face hidden within this photo's blurry trailed shadow is... I believe it would be... the same one? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a statue. It looks like a person, but it ain't a person. Naturally, the shadow is the third smuggled object, the prima duck statue replica. You can't be serious. My flop sweat tells me that you're right, though. The Atagatasu, or rather, Callisto Yu dressed as Agent Shana was inside Babel. She dressed the replica statue up in clothes and launched it through the air with the greatest of ease, like a trapeze! It's all going back to the big top! Ha! Mr. Prosecutor! You left out a very crucial bit in your explanation. I know I did. She launched it through the air? And how exactly did she do that? I don't know why he dragged that last word out. I think he's having a bit of a mental break. He's admittedly been having a very rough day, and he did get shot in the leg. He's literally baring his fangs at me. But he has a point. How exactly did it move through the air like that? As long as this, I mean, it was my currently running theory is the huge honking cord. Just kind of hook it on and, you know, woo, slip it down, you know? That's my currently running theory. As long as this remains unsolved, we won't be able to move any closer to the truth. Which reminds me, didn't he say this earlier? Hey sis, I remember that just before the Ambassador Balba went to give his speech, he called you into his office, right? So just before the murder, Francisca was called here right into this very room. If that's the case, then that may be another avenue I can pursue. Agent Lang, in order for me to answer that question, I'll need to hear testimony from Miss Von Karma. Nani? Huh. What are you up to now, pretty boy? Come on, man. Literally almost everybody in this game was a pretty boy. Except for the ladies, who are just pretty ladies. And obviously there are a few gonks here and there. But generally, by and by, I mean, look at this thing. Look at this profile. I think this is the only one that's 31. I would have guessed in his 50s. All right, well, my point still stands, okay? A lot of pretty people in it. Moving on. Earlier, you mentioned something of interest to me. You said that just before the murder occurred, Miss Von Karma had been in this room before Ambassador Alba had called for her. And for that reason alone, you believe her to be the killer. Yeah, I guess I did say something like that. I'll be honest with you, I kind of forgot I did. In that case, I believe it is my duty to ask her what her side of the story is. Yeah, you really think a criminal would tell us the honest truth? How dare you! As I've said numerous times, there's absolutely no proof that I'm the killer. Miles Edgeworth, don't tell me you suspect me too. I don't. However, I can't ignore the fact that you were in this room at one point in time. Which is why I would like to hear about your movements in this room. Garg! Francisca, I feel that I still don't have enough information. Which is why your testimony is incredibly important to the outcome of this case. Alright. So, what would you like me to talk about? I'd like you to please testify to your movements in this room until the murder occurred. Alright, let's try this way, your way for a change. As opposed to literally every other instance where I guess it wasn't by Edgeworth's way. Whatever. If that's what, but if what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, I'll point my finger at you. I'll place her under arrest faster than you can howl. No! Alright, a bit overly dramatic, but sure, whatever. Alright, Francisca, give me the scoop! What do you got? As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Albastian embassy. After I saw the Steel Samurai off his way towards the ambassador's office, I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Alba to his office. Okay, but I was mostly I kind of wanted to hear about the time you spent in the office itself, not so much on the outside. Francisca, I want to make this clear from the very beginning. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time span in which you were in this office was before the murder occurred. Is that correct? Yes, of course. I see. For now, the only way that I can see for us to break out of this situation is to ask Francisca about her testimony in more detail. Alright, well I can think of at least 2 things worth pressing at least. Alright, you were assigned to guard duty. After you saw the Steel Samurai off on his way towards the office. Okay. So, like, can you maybe talk about a little bit more about what exactly it is you did? Why did you need to confirm the degree of preparation for even the speech? For security's sake, of course. What other reason could I have had? No one knew just how the Yatagatasu had planned on getting in, right? Well, so I suppose you're right. And in the end, the Yatagatasu did choose to appear in the Rose Garden. Even if it did turn out to be nothing more than a shadow. From shadows! Who would have thought that she could use a shadow? So late! Boy, everything I'm trying to help you! Come down, Francisca! She must still be nursing a grudge over the fact that she couldn't figure it out herself. Oh, yeah, I guess. Anyway, there was no one in the Rose Garden. And we were aware that the speech was set to start soon thereafter. Alright, well, let's press things just a wee bit more. Alright, press it down. At that time, Damastu's body had yet to be found in this room, is that correct? That's right. But Ambassador Alba was here, so that's something. One could hardly miss his rather large presence. Is he really rather large? He seems kind of short. Or at least I guess he's very haunched. A criminal will say anything to get out of getting arrested. How do we know you're not lying? Well, if you need proof, I'd be happy to oblige you. Seriously? Like I keep telling you, when I arrived at this office, Ambassador Alba was already here. He was standing by the flower box on the windowsill watering his plants. I can attest to that. I remember speaking with this lovely lady around that time here in my office. Yeah. All right then. Add that statement to your testimony and let's hear some details. Okay, so Ambassador Alba was in this room at the time, was he? All right, when I arrived, Ambassador Alba was watering the flowers on the windowsill. I mean, can I get even more details out of that? Because I don't see a contradiction in there. For the sake of being thorough, I'd like to ask you something. How did you know that Ambassador Alba was watering his plant at the windowsill? What do you mean by that? The entrance to this room is on the side, however, the window is on the opposite side. If what you say is true, then when you entered this room, his body would have been like a wall. He would have been blocking your view of what he was doing. Isn't that not correct? I suppose it was a bit hard to see around him. But fortunately for me, Ambassador Alba's not an immovable wall. I knocked before I entered, and as I did, he turned around to greet me, with a watering can in his hand. So it's only natural to believe that he was watering his plants, right? I suppose. After his greeting, we spent a little time talking about his flowers. He had obtained them himself and is growing them with the utmost care, you know. Yes. The plants in this room, they are all like my children. The passion flowers in the flower box on the windowsill are growing beautifully, too. All 4 of them are in full bloom. There are 2. There are 2. Hang on, no, I want to see. Yep, there are 2. I'm noticing something. What? Anybody else seeing that? And they've got soil on the tips? Hello! Okay, that's gonna be useful. Nani? Miss Von Karma, what did you say just now? I said that the flowers are growing beautifully. Well, what about that statement do you not understand? Well, mostly the word beautifully. What do I not understand? I do not understand why a certain thing is the way that it is. I'd like for you to append the statement to your testimony. Very well. There were 4 large passion flowers in full bloom in the garden. Then explain not only why this evidence I have right now says 2, but you can turn your back around and say 2 once more. Smug of the North Star! Francisca, for some odd reason, your testimony contradicts with this piece of evidence. It does appear that way. I knew it. I knew we couldn't trust your words, sis. Mr. Edgeworth! What are you doing discrediting Miss Von Karma like this? For the greater good! Yes, sir. If you keep this up, she's gonna get taken away, sir. Ow, my everything! All I've done is state what I saw. I've not made a single mistake in my testimony. And for this, I am still under suspicion for murder. Is the number of flowers really all that important at this juncture, Miles? I must say it is. At the very least, it is a contradiction in the enigmatic case. One that I find hard to dismiss as irrelevant. Now let's hear it, Mr. Prosecutor. What does the number of flowers have to do with anything? What does it prove? I believe the answer to that will become clear if we were to examine the flower box. How did this contradiction come about? There must be something behind this discrepancy. They're my beloved flowers. I've grown them with the utmost care, so I ask that you please be gentle with them as you examine them, Mr. Edgeworth. I understand. I'll only tip it off the windowsill once. Edgeworth is a bit of a cat like that. Knock it off the thing. And yeah, look at that. There's just clearly 2. Oh, yeah. Ah, yeah. It's all coming together. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. All right. So, there's clearly space right there for him. This patch of soil looks as though it had something removed from it. What are you doing, Mr. Prosecutor? Why'd you clam up all of a sudden? I'm still here waiting for an explanation, you know. Did you know, Agent Lang, flowers are best appreciated in silence? I feel as if Lang hasn't been silent in... "27 years. 27! God, the ages in these games, I swear. It looks like 2 things were pulled out of this flower box. Can I deduce that? No? Alright, well, how about I look at the sticks? The name of these flowers, I believe they're called passion flowers. What with them having all that passion? Despite being called flowers, they're actually a species of vine. They appear to be growing well and are well supported by these plant supports. Yeah, but no matter how I look at it, it looks like there are only 2 here to me. You realize, don't you, sis? Your little lie has failed you. Miles Edgeworth, hurry up and shut this man up for me already. That was the plan. I suppose I'll need to use some evidence to shut him up, won't I? Yes, let's do that noise. I believe I have just the piece of evidence you require. Oh, you do ya? You have such confidence in the face of your current plight, but I highly doubt it'll last until the end. Then you've not been paying attention to prior events. You howl like a wolf, Agent Lang, but we'll see if you have any bite to back up that bark after you see the evidence. Dang, using his own incredibly cliche wolf terminology against him. Anyway, hair sticks! Shana, who was supposedly in Babel the entire time, had these hair sticks on her. They look exactly like the plant supports in this flower box. In other words, I believe it can be said that these hair sticks are in actuality support sticks for the passion flowers. So what? Is this really all that important to the case? Of course it is. It means that we found yet another item that was smuggled between the countries tonight. Think about it logically, Agent Lang. These sticks were originally in Alabast. But somehow they wound up in Shana's hands, who was in Babel the whole night. So make no mistake, these sticks were smuggled somehow, just like the knife and statue. Zuh. Yeah. Very well then. I want to hear from you exactly how they wound up in Babel. Okay, I don't know how to answer that. Where do these support sticks find their way to Babel and why? There must be some reason as to why they ended up there. Ah, so that's why. All right, well good, Edgeworth figured it out and I don't have to. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this and tell me its shape. Yeah, it's just another stick, isn't it? And so it is. But the shape of the support stick is what is important. For when they are used with something in this room, that's when it all comes into They shot them with the Used the hair stick, shot him with the crossbow with the cord. Boom! Eureka times 3! That's a crossbow. Wait, you're not really suggesting... Oh, but I am. These hair sticks, or rather, plant support sticks, these things are made out of some seriously tough stuff. Either that, or I guess whoever used the crossbow just has that damn good aim. They make for perfect arrows! Hi-ya! I've done it! I found the common thread that connects the two offices! Well, this thread is yet to be completely untangled. Even using the arrows, how does this explain how the statues were transported? Furthermore, who could it have been who fired these sticks as arrows? There must be a common thread that ties all of these things together. Yeah, you better be not so fast and over there. Mr. Prosecutor, hold up a second. You do realize what happens when you tie a statue to an arrow, right? They don't fly at all. I mean, I guess it depends on how powerfully you shoot the arrow. So Babel's statue was draped in the Yatagata's clothes and then shot over here. Even if you fired the arrows from the side, they wouldn't go far with a statue tied to them. I don't think I need to tell you that the Prima Duck statues didn't sprout wings, even though that's like my catchphrase at this point. You're a realist after all, aren't you? The Prima Duck statue didn't sprout wings. Of course they didn't. That'd be stupid. Glad you understand. I feel much better already. I was afraid for a second that you were unaware of that crucial fact. Why do you keep doing this? It's only crucial because you're under the belief that wings are necessary to the equation. What? You need to free your mind a bit more and be a little bit better at your job. Come on, my dude. I can't do all the heavy lifting. And let it fly like a bird on the wind. The Prima Duck statues flew, but not on a wing, but a prayer, don't you see? And by a prayer, I mean... by a metal cord. Allow me a bit of your time, and I'll explain this mysterious phenomenon to you. Do. Edgeworth watches the Muppets. Yeah. All right then. So Okay. I'm not sure which one. I guess I'll just press everything until something else pops up. We're in agreement that an arrow by itself would reach the other side, correct? But just the arrow by itself is pretty meaningless, don't you think, Mr. Prosecutor? Because the things they wanted to smuggle were a lot bigger than nothing. No, that's not necessarily true. These objects aren't very much nothing. What? What I need right now is not further discussion of my conclusions, it's the launching of my conclusions. What the shooter wanted to launch with the crossbow was not the statues themselves, but rather something a crossbow can launch that can be used to move the statues. Yes, but how do I make use of that? If it okay, yeah, that's new. Cool. If it wasn't a statue that was tied to the arrows, then what did the crossbow launch? Oh, let me tell you. Was a wire. Figuring it out. Finally we have reached this point in our discussion. For I present to you that which was carried by the arrow from the crossbow. I get it now, Mr. Prosecutor. I can see exactly what you're trying to say. You're saying that the wire was tied to an arrow and then shot into Mr. Cochin's office. Considering it was at a downward angle, sure would make a lot of sense. Make it real easy to slide that mess down. All the way from the 5th floor of the Alabastian Embassy. Down to the 3rd floor of the Babalese Embassy. I don't know why I almost called it a Baltanese. If what you're claiming is really what happened, I can see how Alabast's Prima Duck statue could be moved. Gravity could be used to move the statue down the wire from the 5th to the 3rd floor. But then, what about Babel's Prima Duck statue? Or Babel's, whatever. Wrong emphasis. The dark shadow in this photo is clearly flying away from Babel. Going in the opposite way of gravity from the 3rd floor of the Balinese Embassy up to the 5th floor of the Alabastian Embassy. How do you explain that? Somebody pulled the cord? That would make a lot of sense. Ah, I think I finally see how the gears behind this whole trick works. Agent Lang, the motion used behind this trick. I wonder if perhaps you have yet to envision how it works in your head. Motion? What motion? The motion of the ocean? This is the motion that was employed to smuggle Babel's Prima Duck statue. Rotary swinging bungee. Okay, well, a swinging and a bungee wouldn't work, so I'm guessing it's rotary. I believe it was done via rotary motion. The two statues were transported simultaneously. Okay, hello. Simultaneously? Get real! The statues would collide somewhere along the way. Did I ever say that there was only one line of wire between the two offices? He shot 2 bolts. He didn't just shoot the one. If he shot an arrow with the 2 ends of a wire tied to it, a circular belt can be formed. Now what? Langzi says, don't object and call a success what is beyond reasonability. Taking into account the tension difference between the 2 wires, the top one would snag too much to the point where the statues would collide anyway. Agent Lang, as you know, the Prima Duck statue is a one-of-a-kind national treasure. And the fact that Babel's statue is a hollow replica of the real statue, it would naturally be lighter than the real one, meaning that my idea is very possible. Langzi says, I'm really stupid. No! Okay, that one's even better. Here's what I believe happened. Miss Yu and her mystery co-conspirator, who's definitely totally not Alba, set themselves up into the 2 different rooms. The co-conspirator bridged the rooms by shooting the 2 ends of the wire down on one arrow. Then, the 2 of them covered the statues and proceeded to transport the statues. After the switch was completed, another arrow was fired, carrying the other end of the wire down to Babel, where it was to be disposed of. And to do that, Miss Yu hid it inside the grandfather clock, QED. Yeah! Why'd you hit me? I'm glad you finally were. This proves it, right, Agent Lang? That I'm not the killer! Not yet, sis. I still haven't had my dessert yet. Okay, right, Mr. Prosecutor? The proof is in the pudding, as it were. Pudding is a nice dessert. I mean, if you like that kind of thing. I don't! So, do you think you can do it? Can you prove that what you said is what happened? Because remember, if you can't, I'll be taking a certain someone back home with me as a souvenir. Yeah, no, you can't have Francisca. She is not non-negotiable. That she stays with us. I agree that as long as there is no proof, my hypothesis remains just that. However, what I have laid out is no mere hypothesis, for there is one more piece of evidencia. One more? Well, this should be interesting. You think you have a piece of evidence that'll turn your hypothesis into fact? Well, then let's see it, Mr. Prosecutor. The thing that made it possible to create a circular belt out of a length of wire. I believe that it is right here in this very room. Now then, I believe this is what made the circular belt transporter method possible. I mean, other than just having it being a pulley system, I guess you could have tied it around a ceiling fan. That's an option. Ha! Looks like you dropped another bomb on us again. The last piece to the trick are 2 pulleys. Precisely! The ceiling fans double as pulleys in this case. And thanks to the fact that there is one installed in each of the offices, The ceiling fans made for the perfect pulley set for the wire to run on. The jams be playing! This must be it. This is how the smugglers bypass the impenetrable security. You really are something else, Mr. Prosecutor. Yeah, I bet you figured it out already, haven't you? You know who the big hotshot that set up this real-life stage show is, don't you? The person who set up this rather large and complex stage show needs to be someone who had foreknowledge of the existence of a ceiling fan in both the Alabastian and Babylonie's offices, and that the passion flower support stakes could be used as arrows. The real mastermind behind this case? Well, don't you dare make this wolf wait for his food. Why are you so hesitant, Miles Edgeworth? If you can't say who it is, why don't you present something like you always do? A single point of the finger here, and this case will explode into an international He can't get brought into court. I see where this climax is going. Oh, this is going to be an interesting challenge. However, it's already too late for me to stop with this forward momentum. The crazy train is off the rails. It appears that I have no choice now but to rush in like a crazy man. There's a piece of evidence that will point us to who the mysterious mastermind is. Evidence? Wouldn't that just be one of the things that... I mean... It should just be the things that only they would know about, right? This smuggling could not have been possible without the use of the crossbow. Furthermore, the arrows that were shot by the crossbow were plucked, as it were, from the flower box in this very room. They were planted so long ago that the passion flowers had the time to grow so big that Miss Von Karma didn't even notice the arrows when she visited the room today. On top of all this, the fact that the culprit knew that both offices had ceiling fans tells us that the person has very detailed information on the embassy's layout, or at least been in both rooms, but regardless. So you may have already guessed the person I am accusing of hatching this plan is the person who grew the flowers in the flower box with the utmost care. Thus, it can be only you, Cursius Alba. Hi. Are you out of your mind, Miles Edgeworth? I'm certain of what I am saying, and I am sure that he is the culprit. Tell me, Mr. Prosecutor, what was the ambassador trying to accomplish by doing all that stuff you just outlined? Why in the world would he need to use a trick like that? I understand your need to doubt me. However, there is one thing that stands out to me as very odd. Just one thing, huh? One single end result Ambassador Alba sought to obtain. If we were to examine the focus of this complex trick, I believe we will finally find the answer to everything. Everything will become clear once we examine this piece of evidence. The hot dogs. I'm thinking. Okay, hang on. I think what's being asked here is the reason he would have to do this. Right. Okay. Yeah. Used to be real, but it's been swapped for fake. I believe this is what we need. Yeah. Would fully understand the reasoning had the situation been the reverse. However, to go through the trouble of swapping the real Prima Duck statue for the fake, there's such a very shady reason for such a bizarre action. And who better to ask for that reason than King Prima Duck himself? I see. Ambassador will be examining that statue now, with or without your permission. He sure do not be saying anything. Your ellipses say a lot. Either that or you fell asleep or died. Okay, so I'm inspecting it, huh? Okay. Okay, well, we already inspected that part. We don't need that anymore. The head? Huh. This guy kind of looks like the Steel Samurai, don't you think? Maybe it's because they both look alike that he was picked to be the Goodwill Ambassador? I feel like we've had this conversation. I suppose that's possible. Take a look at this area around the base of his neck. Looks like a gap. Hey, you're right. Maybe it's meant to be some kind of secret. Perhaps it's possible to open the statue from this gap in its construction. What? Hurry up and open it, Miles. All right. You don't have to yell. Whoa, hello. Wow, it really did open up. Hey, what's that thing that fell out? I believe a more thorough examination of it is required. Okay, then. Then do that. What is it? What in the... Is this? Hey! Is this what I think it is? I don't know what you think it is. It's a plate for making counterfeit oh, it's a printing plate. Somehow it appears that we've long last arrived at the exit to this complex labyrinth. We finally hold within our hands one of the counterfeit money plates. And the reason why the replica was smuggled into Alabas to begin with. Nice. We can use that. The Primadux statue can only be handled by the ambassador or the secretariat. And the replica is nothing more than a hollow shell covered in gold. These two circumstances make the statue the ideal object in which to hide contraband. After receiving the statue containing the counterfeit plate from Shana, the ambassador had the misfortune of accidentally running into Damas 2. Surprised by the thief, the ambassador raised the replica statue at Damas 2 and just straight up bludgeoned him to death. Then, in order to frame the Steel Samurai of the murder, he covered the samurai sword in blood. Well, Ambassador Alba, what you gotta say about that? You're the leader of the smuggling ring? My country is a mess, and it's all because of you? You're the one who killed the mask too? Answer us! I never thought that you would figure things out to this level. Nyeh. However, there is one point I disagree with you on. The head of the smuggling ring was Mr. Cochin. Quit screwing around! I have no sympathy for someone who would try to pass the guilt onto a dead man. There's one thing I'm sure of, it's that you're the real ringleader, Cursius Alba. It's not good to speak with such subjectivity, you know, Agent Lang. Subjectivity? My conclusion is anything but, and is the result of logic and investigation that I always say I never use. Logic and investigation? Only seconds ago you were ready to arrest Miss Von Karma. I don't think we can give such flip-floppy logic any real weight, do you? Yeah, you know. It looks like you still don't get why I came back. Excuse me? Wait, was I right? You see, the reason I came back is so that I could sink my fangs into your wrinkly old neck. From the very beginning, my real target has been you. Okay, either he's able to play off his mistakes as being intentional very well, or he actually did do this on purpose, and it was just a ruse to get more information and keep the investigation going. For the sake of argument, I'm going to assume the best and say that he did intend to do things this exact way. Agent Lang, I demand an explanation! Sorry, sis. I didn't mean to put you through all that. And I knew you were innocent from the very beginning, or at least that's my official story. You did? I knew that this whole incident had been meticulously planned. Planned and prepared for. So naturally, the occupant of this room, Ambassador Alba, seemed the most suspicious. But without the ambassador's permission, you couldn't get in to take another look around. So that's why you put on this big show to accuse Francisca of murder. Using Francisca as the bait, you were able to gain us entry and investigative rights. Yeah, if I hadn't done that, also you stumble over your words a lot, I doubt the ambassador would have given the okay to poke around. So that's what this was all about. Very well, I will forgive you. But in exchange for using me as bait, you will take some responsibility and help us find the truth. Agent Lang, for giving me such a great opening, I thank you. Yeah, I don't really care about you, Baka. I just knew, Mr. Prosecutor, that somehow if we were able to find some proof by investigating this room, that you'd be able to figure out the real culprit with your special brand of logic. Hey, teamwork! The evidence detectives collect combined with the logic of a prosecutor. That's just as it should be in a prosecutor-detective team, right? I don't know about all that. But one thing I do know is that I'm itching to see that old man get what's coming to him. You're getting quite scary when you want to be, aren't you? You were the one who was planning to use me to push all the guilt onto the sis. Unfortunately for you, you misjudged me. By the way, I still have a bullet in my leg. I mean, it probably flew out the other end, but still. Agent Lang, I wish for you to stop trying to intimidate me. What we need right now is evidence and proof. I wonder if you have what is necessary to prove that I am the head of the smuggling ring.
Objection!
Don't be such a sore loser. If you really are the head of the smuggling ring, then you should acknowledge your crimes with dignity. Dignity is for nerds. What dignity? That's nothing more than a fool's insincere display of strength. Wow. He really does think dignity is for chumps. I'll lie, kick, and scream my way into being innocent no matter what it takes. If you really wish for me to acknowledge my crimes, then I would like to first see some of the thing you call evidence. Got it. I tell you, I knew nothing, really. I didn't even know that a counterfeit plate was hidden inside that statue. You swapped a real statue that vested in your country the authority to rule for a fake. It doesn't make any sense that you didn't know anything. It doesn't make sense? Where doesn't it make sense? Can you prove that it doesn't make sense? Okay, I mean, I guess I can't. He's turned the entire situation around against us. The proof that Interpol had been after, which points to this man as the ringleader. If we can somehow find that proof now, then we can see to it that justice is finally served. Is there nothing I can use to break this case wide open? I wonder. I think I see where this is going. The trump card and the videotape. With those two items, we might be able to finally bring this man down. But the card is evidence from a case that Mr. Faraday hid away in secret. And the tape was stolen by Detective Bad from the police. They're both illegal evidence. Aren't they only illegal evidence if we tried to use them in court? I'm not 100% sure how this works. No matter what, a protector of the law can't be allowed to use such pieces of evidence. Needless to say, we Von Karmas are commanded to achieve nothing but victory, and by any means necessary. The only way to bring someone like that to justice was to do so outside of the courts. That's what we thought at the time. I see. I no longer follow the path of Manfred von Karma, and I won't follow the path of the Yatagatasu. This leaves me with what? What creed will I believe in? If I want to pursue the truth, then I will sully my hands in illegality. And if I want to pursue justice, then I will lose the truth. What is the law and what is justice? And which path is a prosecutor supposed to follow? That choice is one I must make by my own hand here and now. I don't know of any other way to do it, dude. We have that evidence for a reason. There is no limit to the law. Any limit that exists was set there by man. When a person goes beyond that limit, then the law too crosses into new territory. For what reason were laws invented? The answer to that is what I must now show. Ambassador Alba, I wonder if you might recognize this. Oh, I wonder what that card is. I've never seen that before in my life, which is why there's an exclamation point at the beginning of this. It's a directives card used by the leader of the ring to relay instructions to his subordinates. Oh, is that what it is? This card was sent to the real culprit behind the KG-8 incident 10 years ago. A man by the name of Mr. Manny Cochin. Huh. So why do you have such a card in your possession? because it was hand-delivered to me by a certain great thief, the Yatagarasu. The Yatagarasu gave that to you? Don't talk nonsense and let's be serious, Mr. Edgeworth. Do you have any proof that the card contains directions from the ringleader? I'll have you know that the card is not the only thing I was given. What? This contains security footage that was shot before the start of the KG-8 incident. KG-8 incident? The card and the video. These two pieces of evidence are what will seal your fate. Very interesting. I must admit, I'm very curious now. Very curious indeed, these case-deciding pieces of evidence you presented. The prey the Yatagarasu has been chasing all this time now stands before me. I can't allow this man who has had free reign for 10 long years to simply walk away. Well, he's probably had it for longer than that. Now is the time for me to bring to fruition the valiant spirit that was given to me. Over here, where there's a VCR, apparently. So what is this interesting thing that you wanted to show me? The trump card and the videotape. These two pieces of evidence together make for the ultimate hand. And this is where the real meaning behind Detective Bad's words will be realized. Detective Gumshoe! Yes, sir, I have the remote, sir! What you see here is the security footage shot just before the KG-8 murder occurred. From this footage, we know that the card is a directives card from the smuggling ring. This is the section that proves the card was used to relay an order. What? Oh, I think you just want me to point it out. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what that was supposed to mean. As you can see, Mr. Cochin is holding the card in his right hand. You see, the killer is indeed holding a card with the exact same design on it. But that card and the one you have, just because they look the same doesn't mean that they are, does it now? Ah, but there's a very easy way for me to prove that they are, in fact, one and the same. All we have to do is simply take a look at this. I would imagine it would be the blood probably helps. This dark red blood. Yes, this is your proof. Proof that the orders on this card were played out in that terrible tragedy. The blood belonged to the victim of the KG-8 incident. With a bit of DNA testing, we can very easily verify that as fact. If you have no objections, then I'd like for you to take a look at this next piece of footage. This car that passed by in front of the victim's apartment building. It's an official Cadopian government car. What? Detective Gumshoe, if you could please magnify the footage. Oh, hello. This area of the footage directly links the smuggling ring with Cadopia. I think you're asking me to point to the card sticking out of his pocket? Take that. I think? The shape of this pocket and the directives card in it. It tells us that without a doubt, this person in this car is Mr. Cochin. The license plate on the car was also captured by the security camera. And with it, we can easily find out who was sitting in this car on that day 10 years ago. Arrgh. Which is why I can say with confidence that you were riding in this car on that day. Well, that's different. You've done well, boy, to make it this far. However, about your claim that I was riding in the car at the same time, that's going to be mighty difficult to prove. How so? The Principality of Cadopia no longer exists. So naturally, all records from that time period also no longer exist. That arrogance. What he really means is he's already erased all traces of them. Are we finished here, boy? The only weapon I have left to me now is this piece of footage. There must be something here that I can use against him. Well, I mean, I just saw him fidgeting with that medal on his chest that's very clearly right here. You know what's actually kind of hilarious is if he decided to not, like, pop his back into position, I don't know if I would have even saw the medal. What the? Ambassador Alba! Yes, what is it? You were once an army man in the service of Cadopia, and it was you who made the many missions you participated in successes, correct? Why the sudden backhanded praises, boy? Although, to be sure, the brilliant medals on my breast were awarded to me during the era of Cadopia. But now I am the only one who owns this particular medal. Alright, well that makes it real damn easy. Well, in that case, the only person it could be who is sitting in the car is you. How do you figure that? By the medal captured here in the footage. It's clearly the same exact medal as is on you right now. But, what? Whoa. Dude is made out of wood. This is how it will be. But I won't look back. For this is the path that I have chosen. You've moved me with your devotion to this case, Mr. Edgeworth. Why is he taking such an arrogant stance with me? It's almost looking possible, isn't it? For the lot of you to have come this far. It looks like I just might lose our little game this time. You might lose the game this time? You don't get another round, Mr. Ambassador. Is that a fact? Very well. I've decided to confess and admit my guilt. You're going to confess? And I will accept whatever punishment that may come as a result. What the? That's on Ace Attorney-ish. Regarding the Damask 2 murder, I admit it. I did it out of self-defense. You're claiming it was justified self-defense? Damask 2 attacked me, and I felt that my life was in danger. If I hadn't done what I did, I might be the one you found dead instead of him. What a pathetic performance. I'm not giving you one. Now, you two really know how to laugh at inappropriate times. I'm doing my best here, Kay. If you wish to claim it was justified self-defense, then we'll need some evidence. It's always the evidence with you, isn't it? But if that's what you require, I'll provide it. The man left a mark on me when he attacked. What? I don't particularly want to show it off, but this is proof that it was in self-defense. That's a lot of bandages. I'm an old man, and sometimes I don't pay enough attention when I should. But Damask 2 didn't have a single weapon on his body. Hold on, it's nothing to get worked up over because I hid the weapon. You hid it? I'm sorry, but as you know, a murder is a murder, even if it's in self-defense. And I couldn't let it become public, seeing as how I am an ambassador. This is the weapon you seek, my special bonsai trimming shears. Ugh, it's covered in blood. He was trembling quite badly during our struggle. But that's when he grabbed the shears that were sitting in my office and attacked. So you see, it was an act of self-defense. Is he right, Mr. Edgeworth? Since he has both a wound and the weapon that caused it, it is enough to declare it so. But is everything so cut and dry? No way! Which reminds me, I guess there is still one more accusation I need to resolve. Smuggling and counterfeiting. Unfortunately, all of that is my secretary's doing. I had no knowledge it was going on. Stop spewing nonsense! You're trying to throw my investigation under the bus in your desperation. If you want to get real honest, everything in this case can be connected to you. The murder of Damask 2 was done in self-defense? In my trials, no man escapes his crime alive. Perhaps so, if you were my opponent in court. However, there is one very important fact that I think you may have forgotten. And what is that? I don't think I did. Ah! Oh, that's what you meant. Extraterritoriality. That's right. This embassy sits on what is effectively Alabastian soil. So, any trial that is to be held will be held in Alabast. Therefore, the crime I just admitted to will never be tried in your courts. Agent Lang, what is Interpol's stance on this? Agents investigate. That's our job. The judgment of people who have confessed to their crime, that's the court's job. And I've already confessed to all of my crimes, Agent Lang. Furthermore, by the very nature of my position, I have full extraterritorial rights. These rights are effective even on your country's soil. Therefore, No matter where a crime may take place, I will never stand trial in one of your courts. Arrogance. It's your expression. That's nothing like the face of someone who's ready to accept the consequences. Don't tell me you have your own country's judicial system eating out of your own hands. That would make sense. These crimes you all speak so seriously of. To me, this has all been nothing more than a game. You may chase me out of the embassy with your accusations, but it's no big deal. Alabasta has numerous other embassies in other countries around the world. All you would accomplish is you would change the backdrop of our little game. These 2 layers of protection that extraterritoriality provides him. This is why he's one of those who cannot be brought into court. You see now, don't you? I live in a whole different world than you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go and fetch your eviction papers. Is there nothing we can do? Well, obviously there's gonna be something we can do. Well and truly clearly. I admittedly don't have any idea what, but I'm sure we'll figure something out.